Hi to everybody who's joined this session about the BA Media and Communications programme, and we hope this is going to be your future course at QMU. Now, I'm Jill Marshall, the course leader, and Leslie Ann Dixon is also here with us, who's a key person on this course, and we're both going to hope to answer your questions later on. So I just want to introduce you to the programme. So the course is designed around these three main learning strands. It's a studying media and communication strand, a media production strand, and an industry-based learning strand. Let me show you the course structure over the next 4 years, and I'll highlight some of the modules. So in year one, these are the classes that you would take. Studying media and communications, which is a core, and I'll say a little bit more about that in a minute. Media production, skills and techniques. This is about learning how to use a range of media equipment, especially visual and audio equipment. And all our production and editing is digital, so can be made for online platforms. Media analysis, which is about the practices of storytelling in different media. Subjects like how narratives work, how we interpret visual language, and how stories relate to society. Media and communications industries. This is where you learn about the different media as industries and businesses and their relationships with audiences and content consumers. Digital content creation. This is a practice module where you learn to provide written, audio and visual content for online platforms. Media production video project. This is a creative module where you make film content, which could be communications, campaigning, or entertainment. So this is a little bit more about the core modules studying media and communications. Been teaching it already this year, and we looked at how communications and entertainment media are all now connected together in a global network, how celebrities have come to dominate the media online, how news works and how we can identify fake news, how groups campaign using the media, and how media censorship works. In year two, you'll be taking classes in media campaigning, where you learn about how to produce a communications campaign, such as an awareness raising multimedia campaign or promoting issues through social media. Media production storytelling, and in year two, media production is all about creating narratives in factual media. Popular media cultures, I'll say a little bit more about that in a minute. Disrupting media and cultural industries, that module covers the many ways in which digital technologies, the internet, and new ways of consuming media have changed the key industries from news media to interactive entertainment. The client project, that's about learning to work in groups with media clients that we provide and produce content to their brief. Media production online journalism. This focuses on researching stories, writing to deadlines and reportage, introducing you to web tools and content management systems. Let me say a little bit more about popular media cultures. This year we looked at storytelling in video games, pop music, history and politics, fans of cult sites and shows, panics about violence in the media, true crime, Reddit and reality TV. We look at these media to understand more about how we engage with media as individuals and as a society. In year three, you take classes in entrepreneurship in the film, media and communication sectors. Here you learn about starting your own creative media business. Following on from level two, where you'll work with clients in groups, the entrepreneurship module is very much about teaching you how to use media and communications in terms of maybe setting up your own businesses, for instance. And that's, again, part of this employability strand that I talked about. Media, politics and culture. I'll say a little bit more about that shortly. There are two elective modules. Electives are modules that you choose, and I'll say more about those in a minute as well. Persuasive communication. This module covers the theory and practice of creating publicity, and that kind of publicity that aims to inform or change people's minds, like health campaigns which try to persuade us to change our behaviour, or political campaigns which try to get us to vote for somebody. The people who deliver this module are also delivering public relations modules and other communications modules. At the same time, we also run media, politics and culture, which is also about communication in a different way. It's about analysing communication. It's about looking at how the media handle politics and handle the information that we rely on, and also all of the kind of power dynamics of that. Designing a research project. This is your main research skills module, and this will help you to produce your honours project in your final year. Leslie, do you want to say a little bit about the research project?
Yeah, absolutely. So in level 3, semester 2, you'll take a big core module called Designing Research Projects. This module is designed to help you prepare for your thinking about your dissertation and whatever type of dissertation you're going to do. It develops your knowledge of research, and I very much try to help students fall in love with research during this module, because it is very creative. It's a chance for you to think about, okay, I'm at level 3, I've studied a variety of aspects of the media, from writing to more theoretical modules to entrepreneurship, etc. What am I fundamentally interested in at this stage, and how might that sort of feed into a dissertation project the following year? So it's a chance for students to think about what they might be interested in studying. So, for example, we have students who may be interested in doing a piece of audience research that looks at binge viewing and the effects on family relationships or dynamics through binge watching. We have students who've looked at more textual based studies who might be looking at something that's looking at representations of women through advertising campaigns. Or you might be interested in something that's more sort of an industry focused, where you're thinking about interviews or engaging with either influencers or followers, for example, on Instagram, and thinking about the sort of rules and etiquette that emerges within that sort of new advertising space, as it were. So it's a really interesting course for you, basically handing over the reins, so to speak, to the student to say, okay, now's the time to think about what are you fundamentally interested in exploring as you move into your 4th and final year.
Just saying a little bit about media, politics and culture. This is a module that gets to the heart of the media's role in politics and society, from celebrity influence culture to election campaigns and referendums on social media to the politics of global entertainment. And these are the elective modules. These are modules which aren't set for you, but which you choose from a list of available courses, and it's quite a big list. As you can see, there are a mixture of modules here between practical and communications modules. And we find that people who've been particularly interested with the public communication modules will maybe want to do more of that. So they want to maybe do some more about political communication. If they're particularly interested in journalism, they might want to go on to do global journalism. They might want to go on to do international PR. People who have been particularly interested in some of the more text-based modules can go on to study text, Scotland on Screen, science fiction, film and the family, radio and audio. And also people can learn some more production. We find that people who are particularly interested in strands of production want to go on and do more. That might be audio, that might be video, and we hope very much that this will be at the centre of media and communications, and it might be content creation on internet media as well. So we've got a whole range of options that people tend to, after they've had a year or two with us, have a sense of their interests, and it means that they can consolidate that by choosing some modules.
Sorry, I was just going to come in there just to say, Jill, that the guidance of your lecturers and seminar tutors will be about helping you identify that interest, but also where your sort of strengths lie. Students tend to have, lean towards they might be more interested theoretically and be quite, academic writers, or they might lean more towards, Dominic stuff where you're very much writing in a journalistic style and interested in developing that further. So we're very much here for, to support you in identifying your strengths and your interests and thinking about how you can feed them into elective decisions, but also your dissertation.
And this module is one that I teach. It's an elective, and it's for people who'd like to study something a bit different. So this year we covered storytelling about Dungeons and Dragons, Gothic horror, spaceships, cyborgs, and vampires. In the final year, you would take these classes. Your big honours project or dissertation. These can be traditional written projects, or you can do a media project in photography, screenwriting, video, or group video. The dissertation is really your honours project. It's a really important piece of work. We offer dissertations in a number of forms. You can do an absolutely straightforward academic written piece of work, and some people really want to get their teeth into particular topics that they've got really interested in. But also we have people doing photography dissertations where they do portfolios and talk about what their photography means. We also have people doing other kinds of production dissertations. So it's not only writing at that sort of honours project level. You can do other kinds of projects. And we have had some very successful alternatives to written dissertations that people have completed. Modernity on screen. This is an examination of the representation of the modern world on screen, all kinds of film, television, internet, visual media. Thinking about some of the key conditions of our age, like globalization, gender, and alienation in society. And there are some zombies in there too. Now, the Media Freelancing Project is a module that only media and communications students take. It's a client project, and you undertake individually as a freelancer, guided and supported by us, a project where you pitch to, target and work with clients, tailor content, cost projects, and promote your own work. That will build on work that you've already done in level 2, where you've worked with clients in groups. And it will also build on some of the stuff that you'll have been studying on entrepreneurship in level 3. So all the way through the degree, you're getting those 3 strands, studying media and communications, doing some media production, and also doing some kind of client work. In terms of your careers, on BA Media and Communications, you'll learn skills in media content creation, research, writing and communications, as well as teamwork and management skills. This suits you for a wide range of roles, such as content creation, client liaison, and creative entrepreneurship. You can aim to work in the media industries, arts management, cultural and creative sectors, or communications industries. But companies in a wide range of industries are always looking for new media and communications content. So if you've got any questions, please email us. These are our emails, but you can look us up through QMU website as well. And we very much hope to see you in September. So we have 3 people online. So there's me, I'm Jill, and I'm the course leader at the moment. And we also have my colleagues Leslie and Dom, and they teach on the degree, and we're all very happy to answer any of your questions. Hi Georgiana, this particular degree course doesn't have a summer placement. However, there are things that you can work on during the summer before your final year that would contribute towards your freelance project. But no, you don't have to do a summer placement. You would do most of the work for the freelance project whilst you're attending the final year.
The thing to also say, and to add there, Georgiana, is that we of course have lots of links with people within the media sector, media industries. So any opportunities that come into the university, we filter them very much out to our students. So that things often come through from film festivals, etc., film events, media events, and we disseminate amongst the student body, and hopefully you would get something. But like Jill says, all of that, while it doesn't contribute directly into credits, is worthwhile for possibly even your dissertation, depending on what route you're going with that, but certainly for the freelance project.
Hi Frederick, I can see a question from you. How does studying abroad work? It's something that you do in your third year, and the criteria for going abroad are that you get good grades in your second year. So you go for your first semester of your third year abroad. There are a number of places to choose from: Australia, America, and Europe. I can put you in touch with our study abroad coordinator if you like. His name is Mark Percival, MPERCIVAL at qmu.ac.uk, and you could get some more information from him. But definitely all the study abroad work is open on this degree too, so yes, you can. Hi Kaia. Video projects, I think the only restriction really is that it has to relate to what you've been learning so far on your course. So it wouldn't be marketing because we don't teach marketing on media and communications, but it could be a communications project of some kind. So it could be a documentary, yes. It certainly doesn't have to be a fictional project. So anything that relates to any of the modules that you've studied, you could do a video project that worked with that. Hi, Georgiana. We don't offer simultaneous teaching modules. I know what you mean, but you can certainly use this degree to take postgraduate teaching qualifications.
That would be a course that you would take after your undergraduate degree in the form of a postgraduate teaching certificate or degree.
Hi, Kaia. The key difference is to do with the amount of film as cinema that you study on film and media. In media and communications, we study or concentrate on a broader range of media. Mm-hmm. So that goes all the way through from a lot of internet-based media, through television, through audio and podcasting. So we have a broader range of media. We also have some more emphasis on communications, and that includes public relations module, public communications module, and campaigning modules that we do actually share with the PR and marketing degree.
What I would say that the courses share is the sort of integration of theory and practice, in the sense that there are many practical modules on the degree programme for digital content creation, client projects, your entrepreneurship modules, your freelance project, where you're actually creating something that goes beyond the sort of traditional academic essay. And we very much encourage that on this degree programme, as well as film and media. So they do have sort of shared ethos and approach in that regard. But yes, that film is more central to the other degree, and that we do incorporate much more communication, and with that, some communication theory.
Yes, certainly. Georgiana, another question you have is, what do you think is the most challenging aspect of the media industry? Well, in terms of actually entering those industries, I would say that people need to have a really good, broad range of skills rather than a very narrow, specific pathway to something that they would like to do. And I think that people who have the kind of writing and research skills that an academic degree gives them do have an advantage over people who study very specific subjects and technologies. All these industries are challenging, but I also think one of the things that we want to provide you with in that regard is ways in which you can learn about being self-employed. So we have that employability strand, an industry-based learning strand, and also how you might be working in the future as a freelancer. So I think we do take note of what you want to do in the future on this course. Hi Beta, in terms of running media courses, we've been running media courses at Queen Margaret University for well over 20 years. And we know that our media courses are successful, and we know that our graduates do well. And our media courses are a combination of media and communications and public relations and film. We've got absolutely no reason to think this new media and communications combination won't do just as well as all our other courses have over the last 20 years.
And I also, just to add to that, Beta, I think that is because of this integration of theory and practice. Because like Jill was saying, this sort of combination of mixed skill sets from writing, research and more practical skills, but it's also to do with critical thinking. And I think that's really key, and something that we really develop in the media, comms and other related courses, is that our students emerge being able to think very critically about the media and its role within society, and about communication and misuse and good use of communication. So I think that's where the real employability comes from. It's a combination of those skills, but also of this ability to think really critically and be very, very media literate. We all know someone who's not very media literate. I'm sure we've all got someone in our family where you hear people who don't understand the media, who take things and sort of replicate them or spread them without due thought or due diligence about where it comes from. So I think it's about becoming a real critical thinker around what the media is, what its role is within society, and thinking about it in terms of its power in politics.
Is writing a big aspect of the media and communications course? Yes, you are going to need writing skills. We do have traditional written assessments, but we're also going to be teaching you a lot about writing. So you don't have to come to your course with everything all in place, especially when it comes to things like media writing, because we will be teaching you about that. But I would also say we do have lots of possibilities to submit work in other forms, so in different media, which is why we have added a lot of different kinds of media to the dissertation work that you can do, your final year projects, but also you'll find throughout different modules there are different sorts of assessment which allow you to use audio media, visual media, and to present your work in other ways, including in live presentations. So it's not all writing by any means.
And there is a lot of additional support for writing through student services. So there's lots of on-campus support for anyone who is struggling with writing. However, your course lecturers will be supporting you in that way. I mean, people arrive at university and they don't necessarily know how to write academically. That is part of the learning process as well. But yes, yeah.
A typical day at university, what does that look like? That very much depends on the student, I think, because
yes.
people take the opportunity to do different things depending on who they are. Some people, they might come in, they would have a lecture class, they might have some seminars. So in a lecture, you'd be in a lecture hall with lots of other people listening to presentations, but then you'd go into smaller classrooms with a smaller number of your classmates and have a lot more discussion and interaction and contribute work yourself. You might not have more than, say, 3 or 4 hours of classes in a day, but you might then want to go and use the library. We've got some great library facilities. You can use those online, or you can go into the Learning Resource Centre to use them. You might want to use some of our audio visual machines to watch films or do some other work. You might be going into the editing suites to edit some work that you've filmed. So it kind of is going to depend on you. There are lots of facilities on campus, so you can have your lunch and you can book rooms to meet fellow students with audio-visual media. So there are lots of ways that you could shape your day at university. I think there isn't a completely typical day. Hi, Becky. There may be exams on some modules. I would say the vast majority of work that you'd submit on media and communications is written or presented in some other way, or it's media work. I think there are not very many exams, and certainly not in your first term. And we have very few modules on this course that are actually assessed by exam.
Just because of the nature of the teaching, that exam isn't the best way in which for us to measure your learning. Of course, that's all on the premise that, you know, assessments can change, but we can give you the information of how that currently stands in terms of the number of exams on the degree programme.
Oh, sure. I mean, do please email us and we'll send you any extra information
Absolutely.
about things we haven't been able to answer here, or if you have any other questions. Hi, Heather. We can send you some more detail about what a timetable will look like. My estimate of what you would be looking at in year one would be, if you're doing modules with lectures and seminars, you'd be doing about 3 of those each semester, and each lecture seminar module would have 1 or 2 lectures and 1 seminar per week. You might be putting in quite a few more hours if you're doing a production module, because you'll be doing more studio time. So I would say at least 3 or 4 days a week out of 5. But we do have quite a few students who work, they have paid jobs, and they manage to do those paid jobs as well as doing their learning. So it's not a 9 to 5 schedule for 5 days. We won't have the actual timetables for next year, but we can send you an example of what you'd be studying. And we're happy to send people any more information about the course in terms of detail about modules and so on. Contact us and we'll be in touch with you.
Yeah, certainly our best practice is that at the end of a lecture there's an opportunity for questions. So if I'm giving a lecture, absolutely I'll ask if there's any questions at the end. Often students will come up and ask at the end, but because we usually work on the basis of a lecture then seminar, so usually you'll have a lecture that week followed up by a seminar. That's not for every module, but many operate like that. You would then have the opportunity to discuss in much more detail at your seminar group, and students tend to feel more comfortable in that way because it's a much smaller group size, and they kind of are quite familiar and have built rapport up with their seminar teacher, who may well be the lecturer as well. Not always the case. So there is lots of opportunity if you've not, you know, there's a certain theorist that someone's talking about or a concept and you're just not really getting your head around it. There's plenty of opportunity for that to be explained, but not just explained, but sort of workshopped and played around with in your seminar classes, which is where usually these theoretical concepts sort of hit home. They don't usually, you know, often they don't hit home in the lectures, but when you start working them through in seminars with activities, that's when they start to make sense in your head.
Yes, absolutely. Seminars are the place for you to go over things that you don't understand. To Katie, who is asking about level 2. And this is what level 2 of media and communications is going to look like. This is a new degree, so we'll have people joining us in level 1, and we already have had a level 1, so they'll be coming into level 2, and some people will be joining us in level 2. What you can see in level 2 is that there is a mixture of production and study and client projects. Media campaigning, for instance, is very much a communications module. And media production, again, there's some film in there, but there's some other content creation too. Leslie, this would be a good point where you could tell us a bit more about disruption in media and cultural industries.
Yeah, absolutely. So disruption in media and cultural industries is looking principally at key moments whereby the media has been disrupted, principally through technological change, but it can also look at other changes such as social change. I mean, at the moment, we're seeing a huge change in the way in which media production companies are delivering content and the way we're consuming content. So just now we're in the middle of a huge media disruption. So it's looking at sort of key moments. So we might want to think about the development of Netflix and online streaming, or looking at the advertising industry, for example, and the way in which media influencers through Instagram have shaken up that process and broken down that barrier between advertiser and consumer. So looking at those types of sort of key moments where things have indeed changed. So what we do in that module is we first of all talk about a specific media. So we might be talking about television, or we might be talking about popular music, for example, or the gaming industry. And then we look at a particular key moment in its history in which that has been disrupted, and the industry has had to respond to that creatively, innovatively, in order to survive and to sustain itself. So it's a really interesting module that's driven by real life examples, so things that you will identify with either within your lifetime or before, that have changed the way in which we consume media, the way that the media is produced, exhibited, and indeed consumed.
Dominic, do you want to tell us a little bit more about online journalism?
Yeah, I do. So this is a brand new module which is running for the first time this coming year. And what we've done with the new media commerce program is we've introduced journalistic strands so that students who are interested in pursuing journalism and associated careers, so things like writing advertising copy or working in kind of public-facing media, where you're going to be expected to produce lots and lots of online content, to basically get training in how to write and format things for the web. Now, what we've done is we've built our own system at QMU, which is basically a fake version of a real website. So if you're working for the BBC or the Scotsman, however, you'll be using the same kind of technology. And what we do is we use this system on the course to train you up in how to work with a website. The module consists of a series of different elements. We look at, first of all, how to write well, help you to kind of develop your writing style, understand what's good and what's bad, and what's needed for online publication, but also how to use the technical aspects. I'm looking at things like embedding video, short features, storytelling, using podcast content, all the kinds of things you'd see in a real news website. And this leads into some modules that I offer as electives. So modules you can select as options in fourth year to do with working with digital journalism as well. So the online journalism module is really designed to give you an introductory skill set that you can use as you move on, and to make sure that if you're interested in journalism or things that are similar to journalism, you can have that in your portfolio when you graduate and go and take that to employers.
Dominic, I've had a couple of questions about software.
Yeah, so we use a range of software across the degrees. One of the things that we have made a decision to do in the last couple of years is to focus on giving students stuff that they can use in their own time. So because a lot of the time as a media worker nowadays, you're expected to work flexibly from home. You might be editing stuff out of a car, back of a car or whatever. You need to be able to do things outside of a studio. So you're going to be working with software which you can basically use on a laptop. Obviously, you don't have to buy a laptop or have a good laptop to do the course, but if you have access to a good computer, it does help. And you'll be using software from the kind of very high-end stuff like the Adobe Creative Suite, which is the industry standard, which you use in filmmaking modules, but also smaller bespoke pieces of software. So one of the things that you'll be using on the courses that I teach is a piece of software called Audacity, which is a very simple to use sound editor for making podcasts and radio, and also an open source film editor called Shortcut, which is very easy to use, and really making sure that at the entry levels you're getting access to appropriate software that you find useful and which you can go away and play with. What we try not to do is pin you to the campus too much. We are working quite hard to make sure that you have access to types of software at home and on your laptops, because if we only say, oh, well, you can use stuff that's available in university production suites, that obviously puts pressure on you in the coming year. So you'll be using a range of things, and you'll learn how to use the very simple stuff first, and then as you advance, you'll get more and more trained up in the advanced skills. But you shouldn't have to pay for any software in your degree, and you will be given stuff at the appropriate time by us.
Katie again has just asked if there are radio production facilities available. Dom, do you want to say a bit about audio?
Yeah, I will. So we don't teach radio as a production module in itself. But what we do have is I've integrated podcasting, which essentially is radio work, into our journalism production modules. And instead of having a full radio studio to do that, which is how it used to work, we've actually moved towards more of a flexible model, which is what you're seeing more and more now across the media, which is people basically training you how to make radio using your own production facilities at home and small pieces of high-end equipment, so things like radio microphones. And I'm talking through the basics of recording sound, the basics of writing radio scripts, that kind of stuff. And it's all designed to make sure that you are able to make radio, but make radio in a way that is suited to the way that radio is developing and not how it was done 10 years ago.
I would just say at this point that I personally have done a short podcast presentation course at QMU just as a staff member, and it's amazing how little equipment you need now when everything is online. And you know, we certainly can do so many more things now through internet media that don't need necessarily dedicated studio space, although we do have dedicated studio space for quite a few things.
Okay, well, I think that wraps us up, Jill.
If there's anything else that you'd like to ask us about content or about how the degrees run generally, we're happy to answer.
Absolutely. Our emails are on screen right now, so please do take a note of them and send us any questions that you might have or that might pop into your head in a couple of days that you wish you'd asked. Thank you all very much for joining us, and we very much hope to see you later in the year.